Hello, my name is Ryan from TeacherWay. We've had some questions sent in from various schools around the world, and today we're going to have a quick flick through some of the questions and give you some of our tips based on our experience in the last 20 years of working with international schools and helping them to recruit teachers. So let's get straight into it then. I mean, the first question here is best practices for inclusive and equitable hiring processes. And of course, being inclusive and in recruiting a diverse workforce is crucial, not just in schools, but in many industries right now, more so than ever before. And sometimes your diversity can be your greatest strength. I mean, a lot of international schools have a split between international expat communities and, of course, the local students as well. And if the local students don't have local teachers to sort of have as their role models in their classrooms, then it's not preparing them for a life as a global citizen. So really, you need to make sure that from this top of the funnel, from the application stage, that you're inviting applicants from all different nationalities, all different diversity, and all different backgrounds. So one thing you can do, of course, in terms of the resumes is have name blind resumes. Quite a lot we have unconscious bias. We all do. It's a fact of being a human. So if we eliminate the names, sometimes the potential negative connotations to a particular name can be removed. Same goes in your job descriptions in terms of what you're putting out there to applicants and making sure that the wording, the sort of tone of your job description doesn't put off particular applicants from certain nationalities. And potentially at the interview stage as well, make sure you've got a diverse team there interviewing the candidate. That's vitally important. And really, you've got to use a lot of different platforms to find these individuals. It's not just the case that you can just use the same platform year on year and hope to get a diverse mix of candidates, because ultimately candidates are all looking at different platforms and whether they're attending virtual fairs, face-to-face fairs, they're online, they're on different platforms. Really diversifying that can go a long way. Another question here is, okay, how can we attract the best teaching talent from around the world? Really, it's just having a deep think in terms of what puts you apart from other schools. I mean, it's always interesting from a school's perspective, looking at other schools and thinking, oh, well, their salaries are higher than ours. They've got better facilities. It's never green on the other side. And if you're not showcasing what makes your school unique, you're really kicking yourself in the foot. So have a good think at your leadership team as to what makes your school unique. Listen to your current teachers. What are they saying about your school? Why have they stayed for the last 10 years? Get their sort of reasons for why they have really loved working for you, and make sure that's being portrayed out to potential candidates. Because if it's not, you're missing a big trick. It's really important that, and what makes you unique can be absolutely anything. It can be the local community, can be the professional development opportunities that you're offering. It can be the way you treat your staff, the onboarding process, obviously salaries as well. If you do have good salaries in line with the cost of living, then sort of put that out in the vacancies. And a lot of the time, candidates can be blindsided by the salaries, but not take into account how that mixes with the cost of living. If you're in Latam, Central America, for example, sometimes their salaries go a lot further in terms of what they're spending on their day-to-day activities. So if you're able to showcase that from the stage one process of attracting candidates, then you really will go far in terms of attracting talent, and the best talent as well. Question here, how to build a diverse leadership team? And that's, again, linking to the first question. It is really important to build a diverse leadership team because that rubs off on the students, the community as well. But again, inclusive hiring process is step one, making sure that every department, all of your teachers is well accounted for from a diversity perspective. But sort of hiring is just the first step. You've got to then create pathways for everyone to reach higher levels within your school. So leadership development, other professional development programs and opportunities that will allow every individual in your school to grow into more senior figures at the school. Okay. How do we leverage social media and digital platforms for recruiting top teachers? Yeah, let's face it, most teachers now, particularly this new breed, this new generation of teachers, they're going to be searching for you online. They're going to be checking social media. They're going to be checking TikTok potentially. So if you don't have a strong digital presence, then you're missing on a big pool of candidates that other schools are capitalizing on. You could argue that you should get a social media expert in your school, or at least an allocated member of your staff that is also the social media person that's going to be actually checking your channels, posting videos, and keeping potential future applicants engaged. And that is really a long-term strategy, because once that video is on your social media or your website, it's there for a long time. So candidates in 5-10 years time could be engaging with that content. So it's increasingly important to be able to position yourselves online via social media, sharing photos, sharing all the creative things that your school's getting on with, the sports days, the projects that they're getting on with in the summer, to really create a sense that your school is a great place to work and is a school that I, as a teacher, would want to apply to. Scrolling down here, streamlining the hiring process from application to onboarding. Okay, how to streamline it. And again, it depends, of course, on what platforms you're using. Obviously, we at Teachaway, we've tried to eliminate that step in some respect by ensuring that the applicant tracking system is as efficient as possible. We want to make sure that you're able to filter candidates for the preferred credentials that you're looking for. But of course, it's one thing having a very efficient and effective recruitment strategy, but if you don't have a good onboarding strategy in place as well, then you're going to lose teachers, and it just becomes a vicious circle. You're recruiting teachers, but then you're losing teachers. So we always say having a good recruitment strategy is one thing, but it's nothing if you don't have a good onboarding process as well. So make sure those first 2 weeks, those first 4 weeks, when a teacher does arrive to the new school, that you engage them with mentors, that you help set up their housing, even a bank card, things like that go a long way. And really the point there, the mentors from sort of maybe a local teacher mentor can really help assimilate the individual into the local community. Because if the teacher from day one feels settled in the school and the wider community, the chances that they're going to stay for a longer period is significant. Okay. Obviously, there's a lot more points to these questions. I'm sort of trying to shoot through them. Negotiating competitive compensation and benefits packages. And guys, let's face it, it's a teacher's market out there. And if you're a teacher listening and you're not sort of pushing schools to offer a higher salary, then you're missing a trick. Schools, from a school perspective, exceptional teachers are in high demand around the world, in all different regions of the world. And sometimes you do have to focus on the other things that you're offering. Certainly what we've seen in our surveys year on year, especially since COVID, is the importance that candidates place on health insurance and security. With a lot, happening since COVID, a lot of sort of bad things happening in the world, it's vitally important that a teacher feels safe in the environment. And then if something were to happen, like a COVID pandemic again, that they're in an environment that they're going to feel secure in. And if you're able to convince a candidate at the interview stage that you are a safe and secure place to become a teacher, then that goes a long way. Okay. Professional development, vitally important. There's lots of international educators that are in the career because they want a long-term career in education. They've got the plan to work at lots of different locations around the world. So for them, it's vitally important they're taking steps to develop as a teacher and a future educator, whether that's be purely as a teacher and developing their pedagogical knowledge, or indeed moving into leadership positions. It's vitally important that the school helps them in that process. And if you're not able to offer that, then they'll probably go to a school that does offer that sort of thing. So it's really important to look into what professional development opportunities you're offering to candidates, and also your local candidates as well. And don't forget them. In a lot of schools around the world, particularly during the COVID time, were heavily reliant on local teachers because international teachers went back home. Those Y schools then invested in those individuals, and now they've become better educators, and the school have been able to align with their messaging to parents that they are providing the best quality education for their students. Okay. Evaluating candidates' cultural fit for an international school. Yeah, I mean, obviously at schools, teachers aren't just educators, they're ambassadors representing their background and their culture. That's why assessing their cultural fit is vitally important. And we like to sort of categorize teachers, or let's say candidates, into different personas. You've got those community builders that will be interested in applying to schools where they feel part of a community. You've got those individuals that are looking for the professional development opportunities. You've got those individuals that, let's face it, are looking for higher salaries. They might be leaving places like America, the UK, which, we know globally around the world that teaching in the UK, in the US, in Australia is getting less and less attractive to a lot of candidates. Fewer individuals are enrolling into university to become a teacher. So that obviously has a massive effect. A lot more teachers are looking, rather than teaching domestically, to teach abroad. So there's lots of candidates there in a pool that are looking for international placements. And by identifying exactly what they're looking for, certainly at the application stage, enables you to cater to their needs a lot better, which ultimately means they're more likely to choose your school. And when they do join your school, the onboarding process is going to be a lot more streamlined because expectations meet reality. I'll just do a few more. How to conduct engaging, insightful interviews. Okay. Yeah, and again, in a competitive environment, the interview process is as much you interviewing the teacher as the teacher interviewing you, the school. Because let's face it, they've probably got 3, 4, 5 other offers around the world from schools that have looked into their profile as well. So your questioning and also their questioning is vitally important. And don't forget, the key interpersonal skills that come across during an interview. It's vitally important that you're listening to their communication, their body language, because this is probably what they're going to be like in front of a class as well. And that rubs off on your students. Okay, let's just whiz through a couple more. Yeah, how do I approach hiring and the onboarding processes for international teachers as opposed to local hires? And again, that local hires and international candidates, they have different needs. Of course, your local hires will already be assimilated to the local community. You could also say for international educators that have been in the country for a long time, let's say 10 years plus, their needs will be totally different to an individual that is coming to the country for the first time. So we certainly think at Teachaway that when you do bring in a new international teacher, give them a local mentor, another teacher, one of your local teachers that's able to be their point of reference that helps that onboarding process. And of course, it's important not to neglect the local hires as well. They're just as important. They're still a teacher, right? So make sure that, you're aligning them to your curriculum, for example, or your certain approach and teaching philosophies that you try to build, your culture of your school. Align them to that as soon as you can, to ultimately enhance the time both for international teachers and also the local hires as well, creating a cross-cultural team that are all working to the same aims and all assimilating to the right culture that you're trying to build. Let's go for one more question. There's quite a few more. Let's go. Let's try to find a nice juicy one to finish off. Yeah, how do I properly sell the lifestyle and travel opportunities to potential applicants? And this is often neglected. Schools sometimes forget the fact that a lot of educators are international educators because they love to travel. So they neglect the fact that they're in a beautiful city. They're next to the beach. They are in a community that's steeped in history. All these things are additional aspects of why an international educator would want to teach at your school. So ensure to share testimonials of past international teachers that have come and to share their experiences. For many teachers, it's the ultimate aim for them to be in a particular city. So if you're not showcasing that online in the interview, you're going to lose interest. And quite a lot of the time, it's the little things that go a long way. If your little community has an annual festival, tell them about that in the interview because they'll get excited about that. Well, thanks for tuning into the Q&A. We'll probably do a few more of these as we get more interactions from our podcasts, from our clips. And if you do have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section and we'll speak with you again soon. All the best.